Welcome back to Links Golf Club podcast, everyone, on this wonderful July 3rd, 2025, day before 4th of July, a weekly conversation show about our wonderful club in the world of golf. I'm Gregory, joined, as always, by Cooper and Chris. This week, Hillcrest updates, content announcements, summer gear talk, plus a tease for a big reveal, thoughts on the show Stick, and some other golf content that's been coming out we're excited about, and a quick check-in on where our games are at. Gentlemen, Cooper, Chris, my esteemed colleagues, how you feeling? What's going on?
Feeling good, man. Ready for a little bit of a holiday weekend. Try and squeeze in some golf here. Hopefully don't melt my face off because it's like 90 degrees and humid outside.
Yep.
But feeling good. Feeling good. Coop, how you doing?
Doing great. Fully recovered from all the golf and travel and everything that's been happening the past couple of weeks, the summer solstice. Got out with some members in NYCC recently, which is just always a blast. But yeah, looking forward to a red, white, and blue golfing, weekend. Might hit some golf balls.
Let's go.
Happy birthday, America. All right, well,
USA.
before we,
USA.
USA. We can bring it back to Ryder Cup now if you want to. Every conversation leads to Ryder Cup. So first off, let's do some announcements. Chris, I think you have some Hillcrest stuff you want to talk about.
Yeah, just in case you haven't kind of seen some stuff that we've shared recently, there's a lot going on at Hillcrest renovation-wise. This is Hillcrest Country Club in Kansas City, our U.S. course. So undergoing full renovation this year, opening next spring. We shared some new drone videos just coming out this week from the Links account on Twitter and Instagram. We've got some more of that coming. We'll be sharing some photos, some videos, some other content. But, you can see from that construction is well underway. New holes are being shaped, all of that good stuff. So do keep following along on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and Instagram, and in Discord, and the Mulligan,
Truth Social,
our favorite
Blue
email
Sky,
newsletter. Yeah, everywhere you see it, go roll up to the fence at Hillcrest. No, don't do that. Actually,
Not yet. Chris,
not yet.
we have the video actually up with our screen share technology. Can you walk us through exactly what this drone video shows?
Oh, we love that.
Yeah.
We love that. Yeah,
Professionals over here.
so the one we put out this week was the 10th hole. So this is one of the first ones to be worked on in the renovation work. So this is the drone video is basically, it's coming not exactly from the clubhouse, but close to the clubhouse. The hole will play away from the clubhouse. It's a short par 4. And so what you see, you basically, you can see kind of the tree lined fairway, and then the dirt on the ground is the fairway, and then eventually you get to the green site that's been shaped. In the green, you can kind of see the different colored dirt. The green site, the outline of the bunker that will be built there, or bunkers built into the hillside. Going to be an awesome hole, kind of a short par 4, some go or no go decisions right after the turn, after down to a glizzy or some burnt ends or what have you. But so, cool to see that coming to life. Basically, what's happening now is all the regrading, shaping, building greens, all of that stuff. Then bunkers will come, then growing turf and, all of that. But we're at the beginning of that journey now. So we'll have some more to share. But yeah, that was the 10th hole that we shared a video of this week. We'll have some more videos and photos of other new holes getting built. Actually, the practice area, the driving range, kind of practice facility areas getting worked on in part of this first bit of renovation work getting done too. So a lot going on. Really cool to see. Follow along with us, in all the different spots where we're sharing content. And of course, if you haven't joined yet, you should join Hillcrest Country Club. Going to be awesome. Opening next year. We've shared a bunch of exciting updates recently. You can always go check out more information in Clubhouse if you're a LinksDAO member, or go to linksdao.io/Hillcrest and learn more information and get on the list.
Fantastic.
That's all I got on that front. There's a lot going on. We'll talk about it more, but yeah, those are Hillcrest updates for today.
fired up.
Coop,
Looking
I
at
think you've got more for us though. There's even more content.
There's lots of content coming down. Shout out to you if you haven't followed C. Bruce's new Instagram where he's battling early extension and kind of documenting some of the great stuff that we've been doing. His journeys around. Do follow him over on Instagram.
the Creator Classic next year, I think. Guys,
rumors on the street.
Arc.
That's right. Yeah. Paige and C. Bruce teamed it up together next year. July 8th. This upcoming week, we're going to have the reversing Spey Bay video out for you guys. This is a highly anticipated, long-awaited footage from our course in Scotland, Spey Bay. Originally a 1907 Ben Sayers design. CDP, Bert, David, the team, you as the community have voted on some of the elements of this. It's all kind of coming together out there. We've had some great events this season, but we've also captured some great footage if you haven't been able to make it out to Scotland to kind of show what's new and different there on the course since purchasing Spey Bay in 2023. So definitely tune in for that. We're going to blast that everywhere on socials as well, but it will premiere here on YouTube on July 8th. And then we've got even more. Another episode 4 of Building LinksDAO is going to be coming out with Greg, our beloved host, and Derek Duncan, the architecture editor of Golf Digest. So Greg keeps on pulling these heavy hitters for the Building LinksDAO episode. We're amassing just an incredible knowledge base with some of these experts in the world of golf. So be sure to tune in to Building LinksDAO. Greg, what was that like? Can you give us a little preview, a little sneak peek? Like, how was that conversation?
Derek's really smart guy. Has a lot of cultural capital that he's built up over the years. He started in wine, and we had some great conversations about restaurants and hospitality. And then he kind of went away from golf for a while, came back to golf, and eventually became the architecture editor of Golf Digest, which is really he's the guy for the top 100 lists, right? He's the one who spearheads the entire campaign. Obviously, people go out and they do the ratings, but they've, the methodology that they use, the write-ups they do, the beautiful content of the courses that they display. He's just a wealth of information, but he's also just a really cool guy. So it was a really fun conversation, wide-ranging conversation, but he also has his own podcast, so he's a very effective podcaster, and it was cool to sort of see in the video, or if you're listening to it on audio, him really sort of start to shift the conversation in a very interesting way. No spoilers, but definitely check that one out. It'll be live here in 2 weeks.
It's fantastic. Looking forward to that. And if you haven't checked out the first 3 episodes of Building LinksDAO yet, you can find them on our YouTube page. They are awesome content. And then later on in July, we're going to have the recap of the Summer Solstice 100-hole hike video. All the content we captured out there during that epic day, the longest day of the year at Spey Bay for the Summer Solstice. So lots coming down the pipe. Looking forward to all of that. And I think next week we're going to have some big news that pertains to you golfers as a benefit. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, can everyone just close their ears and just you tell us, and then we'll just everyone else mute for now and turn down your volume. Chris, you tell us the thing now, and then they can unmute.
Yeah, nothing getting shared this week. We speaking of early extension, we maybe have extended some previews of announcements coming today, actually coming next week. We got some big news. We're really excited about this one. So just going to leave it at that. Announcements coming next week on our live podcast, which will be on Thursday again, the same time next week. So make sure to tune in for that one. Going to be a fun one. Excited to share some big news.
Yeah. If you say big, it's big. And I'm excited to hear about it. So 7 more sleeps and we'll get there. All right, so let's pivot it here and talk a little bit about golf news. Then we're going to do some other chatter. John Deere Classic this week. There's been some great social content so far. There's one video of Homa in a sort of a crane situation. I wish I knew more how to identify John Deere vehicles. They have this huge golf ball and a huge hole, and then he slides it across and putts it into the hole. And he makes some, good quips. He's like, maybe I change over to this. That's, the only short putt I've made all year, blah, blah, blah. But it's a fun tournament. It's not a signature event. Those are obviously over, but it has some personality, which I like. The people at John Deere, the marketing people over there are making sure that this is not a forgotten tournament in this sort of no man's land between the U.S. Open and the Open. So definitely check that out. Top 5 on Data Golf. It's probably the best field they've had in a while. Like, it's a pretty strong field. Future Ryder Cup just star Ben Griffin has a 5.7% Data Golf odds. And then, the top 5 are David Thompson, Jason Day, Siwoo Kim, Ryan Gerard. So you have an opportunity to see some guys who are sort of playing in on the fringes. This is kind of one of the more fun parts of a Ryder Cup year. Is there's some guys who are really trying to chase a bit and get into the conversation. And even though these aren't signature events, even though these aren't majors, these guys show up and try to show out. I did also reverse sort on Data Golf, and it really pained me to see that future Ryder Cup star Gordon Sargent has the lowest odds on Data Golf to win. We could do a long conversation about what's going on with him. I hope he finds it soon. Vandy guy, Nashville guy. Yeah.
Nashville ties, yeah.
Yeah, I was so happy with him in the Walker Cup, and he's just kind of been wandering around the wilderness. But it's always darkest before the dawn.
That's golf, man.
Yeah, it is what it is. And then at one kind of point in golf news this week, Live Golf CEO Scott O'Neill had pretty fascinating.
Before we move on from the John Deere,
I didn't know you were a Deere head. I didn't know we were going to talk about it. Yeah, come on, lay it down.
Deere head. I don't know if I'd qualify as a Deere head. Maybe. Who knows? But I think my favorite piece of content that I saw this week was a post. I think it was on X about how Jason Day could do the funniest thing. Jason Day in Melbourne could do the funniest thing ever, like him in John Deere overalls and a John Deere hat for his scripting
one piece
this week.
Of straw coming out.
Oh, that would be so good. Made me LOL. Made me chuckle when I scrolled past that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, fashion-wise, like Malbon and Carhartt are just kind of starting to converge a little bit. Carhartt is more of like there's a New York store that sells like $80 Carhartt T-shirts that you can get for $12 at Tractor Supply store. So, fashion. Yeah, but it has been good. Like, I think they are investing in like making people. They're getting some mind share, not a lot, but they're getting a little bit of mind share. Definitely got me excited about the tournament, and I'm definitely going to watch. All right, let's talk Liv. So pretty incendiary, interesting interview that came out. I'll link it in the show notes. Liv's newish CEO, Scott Neal, just planted a flag and said it will be the dominant global tour in 5 years, while the PGA Tour will, pick up the crumbs in the United States. He makes some comparisons between F1 and NASCAR, which seems obvious and seems interesting. Like, if they can do that, I don't know how realistic that is, but that could be a possibility. So the PGA Tour has too many events, needs to shrink to keep the stars together. Probably not wrong there. Probably, John Deere aside, probably too many events to keep track of. He talked about expansion plans into Africa and South America. He also, in kind of a true, not naming sources situation, she doesn't go here. Big name players are reaching out to Liv. My girlfriend's at a different school. They're reaching out. They're knocking down the door just to get over into Liv. But he did say that they're going to replace 6 relegated players this year. So that maybe we have an opening for some new names, which brings on a lot of conversation about that. He also specifically said that there's really no signs of a PGA Liv merger anytime soon. Shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. People are pretty pissed at this point, I think. And then to the point of just not even caring anymore. Like, we've gone completely over the valley there. And yeah, so I don't know. We don't talk about Liv a lot. So I wanted to make sure that the bots got their due. And we were at least able to touch on this. But it was an interesting article. Don't know how many of this will come to bear, but for both of you, since we haven't talked about it in a while, have you watched a Liv event recently? Bullish or bearish on some of the things that Mr. O'Neill was saying?
So I've not watched a Liv event recently, but I did see O'Neill, like a clip of his interview, and he kind of invoked some some history that I wasn't really aware of about Jack Nicklaus and splitting off from the PGA and creating the PGA Tour. And I felt like that was some real heady. Like, he does seem to be planting a flag, like you said, making some big bold claims about where Live is going. I'm not sure if they have the cachet or the star power to back up that type of big name shift that happened in the 60s with the PGA and the PGA Tour. But interesting to see how it plays out. New blood, new leadership always is interesting to see. And like we have some members who post the stats and the viewership stats every week. And I think this week it was interesting. CBS and the PGA Tour waited for Live to post their viewership numbers, and like 2 minutes later they dropped theirs, which were like 3 or 5 times higher. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a conversation. I think the best thing for golf would be a merger and have the best fields competing. However we can make that happen. Call your congressman. We gotta make it happen somehow. But until then, right? Let's see how this kind of cookie crumbles.
Yeah, Chris, what's going on in that brain of yours about Live?
Yeah, I mean,
or Live?
yeah, it's I don't know. It's still, we've talked about this before. It's still kind of a tough story to follow because you hear so much stuff that doesn't come to bear, merger or no merger, everything. It's kind of hard to keep track of what's posturing, what's real, what's what. But I mean, I think it's going deeper in that article. It's interesting to think about like the F1 versus NASCAR analogy, or like is it feasible for there to be a international tour and a US tour, and like what that could look like or whatnot. It's kind of an interesting thought experiment. I don't totally know if it's workable, really. I mean, it's like something like half of the golf courses are in the US anyways, right? It's like, the majority of the spends here. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see how they're playing it out. And this is, I think, one of Scott O'Neill's first big kind of public communication since he became CEO, right? That was just a few months ago, I think. So, interesting to see how he's playing it and kind of positioning everything. But, kind of like we said before, overall, it's a little, got a little bit of fatigue on like just kind of the PGA versus Live stuff, and, how things are going to play out and everything else. But still interesting to think about, still going to be interesting to see how it plays out with, all the guys that signed initial contracts, and do they renew or how they renew, and, kind of how all of that plays out. But, not exactly holding my breath either, just because it's, I don't know, there's no clue what's going to happen. Could come out with, a merger announcement next week. Who knows?
Right.
It kind of all means nothing at this point.
Yeah. Are the Crushers going to make it past the first apron on the salary cap? I think like the thing that's going to have to happen, and I particularly sort of locked on to it being the World Tour situation. They're going to have to build homegrown talent. They're going to have to build someone from a European country, South Africa, Asia, and they're going to have to build someone young who's really exciting and get a star, because it's still very much a star-driven sport, right? People pay attention to individuals. The second we had actually great tournament at Oakmont, but the fact that no one of any note was competing in the last 7 holes, a lot of people I talked to were like, I don't know, it was kind of boring. I didn't like it. Like, people want stars. So if Liv can actually generate stars, and I almost feel, I mean, they had to do it because they had to make a splash, but I almost feel like they should have just built more slowly instead of spending a bunch of money on big names, especially older names. Just like really try to develop homegrown talent. And that's why, you have Ballister coming in, who knows how he's going to be. But if they can sign some younger guys, especially international guys, and then just within the ecosystem of Liv create really compelling golf, then I'd watch it. But it's kind of always going to be Diet Pepsi compared to Diet Coke until they're able to do that. And you can look in the past, like you mentioned the PGA Tour and PGA, the ABA and NBA is interesting, thinking about that like in the 60s and 70s for basketball. But it's an uphill battle, and I think like the battle is mostly against not giving a shit about Live. I think at this point, so bots come after me. Let's talk about a couple other things here. So open qualifying is here. We talked about the longest day in golf for the U.S. Open is really interesting. One thing that stood out: Peter Finch, YouTuber, among those vying for the spot. Another guy, the first from Georgia, the country, grabbed one of the final qualifying spots with a hole-out eagle on the first playoff hole.
Estonia.
Estonia. Thank you.
Let's get the Balkans.
Sorry.
Get your Eastern
sorry.
European.
Sorry.
Straight.
The
I do not
Baltics.
want. I don't want our Balkan fans to give me crap for that.
Baltic,
God,
but it's cool.
Baltic. Yeah. So, I don't know. There's something to talk about here. Just as like both countries' opens are interesting because anyone can attempt to qualify, and a lot of good names out there, a lot of good courses being played. Are you all following this at all?
Honestly, not that much. I mean, I see the highlights. It seems like there's a few good stories coming out every year, both US Open qualifying and Open qualifying. Last year was like Justin Rose, right? He played a qualifier, and I think maybe Sergio, maybe that was the year before, and there's always some good stuff. Pros, carrying their own bag like Max Homa was doing, alongside dudes from Estonia who are holding out shots to make it to their biggest tournament ever. That stuff's fun, but I'd also be lying if I said I was, on the edge of my seat following every single thing. Cool to see the stories that come out of it. Cool to see some of these guys who qualify, through all the different stages and then perform in the actual Open. And I'm sure we'll see some of that, but not exactly following it day to day. Don't want to give false pretenses here.
Fair. It'd be kind of hard to fake. So I appreciate your honesty. Yeah, I mean, I think the storylines are what make it interesting, right? Unlike the other majors where they're invitationals, having an Open means you start to every year. Like for the U.S. Open, there was the dentist who qualified, and that became a story. So I'm also just really excited for this Open. The venue is going to be great. And Friday actually released a video yesterday outlining Port Rush. So it's just now the content's going to be about the course. We're getting so close. We're 3 weeks away, and it should be a good way to end the season. Last thing I'll have here before
we also go into Scottish Open Championship, Irish Open, coffee golf season. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
Little different flavor, a little different stretch here, which is a cool change of pace this time of year.
Where's the Scottish Open this year? Do you know?
You should know that, but I don't off the top of my head.
Scottish Open 2025.
It's at the Renaissance.
Renaissance Club.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Last story here from this week. Sure, McGavin gets in an online beef with Subway, sort of our version of Drake and Kendrick. This was really just a way to talk about Happy Gilmore 2. It comes out on July 25th. I personally, I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to be excited the fact that we have another part of the what hopefully is a Happy Gilmore trilogy at this point. Maybe some prequels, maybe some sequels, maybe some prestige television. But I'm not like. I guess my question to y'all is: Are you fearful that this will change the place that Happy Gilmore, the original, has in your heart? Are you excited about it? Are you going to watch it? Not watch it? I am worried. I'm worried it's going to be really bad, and I'm worried that like that's going to leave a bad taste in my mouth about the characters. And then the next time I watch Happy Gilmore, I'm going to be thinking about how just much of a flop Happy Gilmore 2. Can one of you walk me off that ledge? So, are you excited? Have you seen the trailer?
Greg, when was the last time you watched Happy Gilmore, the original?
20 minutes ago or so.
Okay. So this morning.
Yeah. A couple months, probably.
Okay. So, I mean, that's good. You have it fresh in your mind. So you're not building it up via nostalgia, right? No. I hadn't watched it in probably like 5 years or so. And then with Greg Egan's Theragun boots on in Scotland, I threw it on the TV at the Airbnb, and I was like, let's refresh this. It's a pretty good movie, right? It's got heart. It's got tons of celebrity and pro cameos. It's got the love story. It's great. I think it's a high bar, and I don't think I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be exceeded by this. the classic is not going to be overthrown, but I do think it's going to have a lot of those same elements that we love, which are celebrities, heart, a decent story, and a lot of cheesy kind of like, things that could potentially, now that we're a little bit older than we were the first time we saw Happy Gilmore, might not come off to us as full-grown adults as cool as they did when we were 12 watching this movie for the first time, right?
Fair.
So I think, there are parts of it that are built up that are going to be hard to exceed, but I think it's going to be a really fun movie, and it's going to, achieve what they set out to achieve, which is revitalize it, and sell a lot of Subway sandwiches.
And make more money for Netflix.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to set my expectations low going into it because I want to be happily surprised. You know what I mean? And they've put out the trailer. I also am like fairly worried by an increase of professional golf actors in this movie. It seems like there's a handful, and they're not going to be good. But yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully, there's some Chubbs lore. We can learn more about that character. Would love to see some like callbacks there. Yeah, I mean, these things are always like, this is our version of Top Gun Maverick, right? Like we're gonna watch this, and it's gonna be callbacks to the original movie, and I just hope it's in good hands, and I hope they do a good job. Chris, where are you at on Happy Gilmore 2?
I think it's almost certainly going to be a bad movie, but I'm definitely still going to watch it. And I think that's exactly what they're going for, and they know what they're doing. It's like, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to see all the pro cameos and the other cameos. Speaking of Paige, sounds like she's going to be in the movie as the I forget the original character's name from the first one. There's going to be all sorts of people in it. It's fun to see Adam Sandler. I don't think it's going to be a cinematic masterpiece, but it's still going to be a fun watch. I don't think it'll affect my love for the original Happy Gilmore. It's still going to be in the pantheon. So yeah, that's kind of where I sit with it. I'm more curious. Here's what I'm wondering these days. So there's the Shooter McGavin Twitter account, X account, which has like 600,000 followers or whatever. Do we think this guy is just a random guy that started a Shooter account and built it up? Is there any sort of affiliation? Like when the first Happy Gilmore came out, would you have believed it if you said, hey, this character is going to start a social media account? Hey, what's social media? It hasn't been invented yet. And is going to make a living off of shilling sponsored Subway Netflix ads because he just continued on the Shooter stick for 2 decades or whatever. What a wild world we live in.
I would say so. I have been adjacent to Chris McDonald, right, at a couple of golf tournaments. It doesn't surprise me that Shooter McGavin is a Twitter account, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's his Twitter account. I always assumed it was, but it's a good question. Maybe it's not. But I think that if you play a role, I mean, if you're a character actor, I think that's probably one of the best outcomes is to be identified with a single role, because you don't even really have to work in movies to get paid. At that point, you're a personality that people want to see. So I guess it would have surprised me then, because I was 10 when the movie came out. But having seen him operate in public and looking at this Twitter account, not surprised that this is his like number one line on his obituary roll, right? It'll be Chris McDonald, known as Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore, and he inherited that role with such gravitas, right? So
something that kind of comes up across crypto Twitter sometimes is accusations of people selling their accounts, right? And I do believe that there was a transfer at some point in the past 10 years from a meme account somebody created, a Shooter McGavin, and now it's owned by a movie studio or some type of social media cabal that is operating this for profit. And I hope whoever started it and started the shtick is chilling on an island somewhere on the proceeds, because they certainly deserve it. But at this point, taking a scroll through the account, I'm pretty sure it's being managed.
It's a false flag situation.
Not so much a false flag, but like it's been co-opted, right? And like, I think that's a great thing. I think it's a good personality on Twitter, but I don't think the actor himself is running it, and I don't think it's just some Joe. I think at this point it's now, a functioning element of the infrastructure around promoting these movies and events.
All right. Well, next time, if he's at the Jim Kelly golf tournament in Buffalo, I'm going to ask him. That's my homework. I'll get the answer.
If he
for
pulls
everyone.
out his phone and shows you that he can send a tweet, like he
Yeah.
does that, like snap a pic, that would be epic.
I'm on it. I will consider that my highest priority, and will execute faithfully. Okay, so a couple of questions here for this next section. We're halfway through the year, so it's a good time to reflect. Obviously, we had sort of our goals episode, but I really am interested. We've all played some pretty good golf so far this year. Never as much as you'd like, but we've played some good spots. So to both of you, what is the single best new course you've played since January 1st, 2025?
I can go first. I had a few different candidates. I was having a little tough time picking one, but I think I'm going to go with Nairn, our kind of neighbor in northern Scotland with Spey Bay. Had a ton of fun playing it. Coop and I played together with R.W. Dennis, who's a member there, I think, as well as Spey Bay. So that was a ton of fun. But really cool course, kind of in many ways similar vibe to Spey Bay. It's along the coast, kind of out and back, true links, all that stuff. A ton of history there. They just played the I think it was I forget if it was the Scottish Women's Amateur, the British Women's Amateur, or UK Women's Amateur, like the weekend before. So cool to kind of get on the course right after that, and yeah, just had a ton of fun there. They've got like the Bothy halfway house, which is kind of its own renowned thing. Cool to see that. Cool to see the clubhouse. They've got a whole history room there, which is a ton of fun to poke through. Been there for centuries and all of that. So I think I'd have to go with that one. Tough choice, but on a links golf kick right now, after being in Scotland. So that's my pick for the time being, at least.
Okay, I like it. Cooper, what about you?
Yeah, Nairn is a great one. Unfortunately, fortunately, it was not my first time playing it this year. So it doesn't qualify, but it might be the pick. The best course I've played in 2025, according to my Punch Bowl rankings, is Pasatiempo. Got to go out, and I mean, just what an absolute gem, right? And I had some good context around it too. Played Half Moon Bay and Presidio and some Golden Gate Park, in that same trip. But yeah, I mean, just an incredibly special golf course and a cool experience and a great walk, right, up and down the hills there. Really, really enjoyed that. And then honorable mention, shout out to technically a new golf course. We have a new scorecard, new routing, Spey Bay. The reverse routing, or the new routing with the additional tee boxes.
Hashtag sponsored content.
Exactly. Gotta shout it out. It feels like a fresh golf course experience versus the first time I played it. So for those of you who have not been back since those changes have been made, I think it counts as a new golf course.
Yeah.
Best new golf course in Scotland?
Good call.
Maybe?
Question mark?
Who's to say? Anyone can say. I've heard, people.
Yeah.
It is kind of shot. My favorite part about the reversing Spey video is, it obviously like kind of tells a story over the course of a couple years, but you see a lot of drone shots of like gorse being removed, sand being removed, and then there's like this last shot of what it looks like now, and it's a remarkable change, and I'm very excited for the Ryder Cup coming up, so I'll get to see it for myself. I think I'm kind of torn between two. I think my number one is Lookout Mountain, mostly just because it is in my favorite place on earth, which is East Tennessee. Technically, Lookout Mountain is in Georgia, but it's up from Chattanooga, so I claim it for my home state. But it's, obviously out there you have a lot of fun golf. I'd always heard about it. I always wanted to play it. And when you drive down 24, you see the sign for Lookout Mountain the mountain. So I guess it just kind of always stuck in my memory. And got to play it a couple months ago. I'd never played a Rainer course. People say it was his last, although there's some dispute on that, but let's just call it his last course. Opened up in 25 as the Fairyland Resort. So one of those sort of places for mostly wealthy northerners to take a train down to and get away from the city. And I'd never played really any of the template holes. I'd never played a Redan or a Biarritz or an Alps or a Maiden or any of those courses or holes. So just net as a person who's learning a lot more about golf course architecture than I knew before, as a person who wanted to sort of get a feel for a Rainer course, as a person who's from Tennessee, it checked a lot of boxes for me. And it was really fun. I mean, it is a thinking person's golf course. There are times where we didn't have caddies, so you thought you hit an absolutely perfect shot. I like flushed a 6-iron at this green, and I was like, that's going to be a 2 feet, and it ended up getting lost behind the green because it somehow chased uphill and off the back of it. But then you learn your lesson and you get around the course in a different way. So I felt way more psychologically tired after than I did physically tired. And then I think like a close 1B, last week I played Prairie Dunes in Hutchinson, Kansas, and also a place that I'd always wanted to play. It is basically an Irish links land in the middle of farmland in the middle of Kansas. The turn from, just the straight grid lines of farmland into the property is it almost like gasped a little bit because it's just so lush and green and the elevation is insane. And it was a tough test. I played remarkably bad both in the morning and in the afternoon. But there really wasn't a time where I wasn't excited and happy to be there, but also just feeling like a test. I failed the test, but at least I got to take the test, and hopefully I'll learn something along the way. So yeah,
it's a good sign if you played poorly but still enjoyed it. That's like, maybe a hallmark of a great course, great experience.
Sure. So then let's talk. We talked a little bit about some golf content earlier, but I am curious. I sat down last night and kind of for the first time didn't have something to watch on my feed, like YouTube wise. Watched a lot of YouTube. So I guess my question to y'all is sort of within the golf ecosystem, what's some content you've been watching recently or anything that's coming up that you might be excited about? We talked about Happy Gilmore too, but what are you watching? What are you listening to right now?
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
Well, you go ahead. Go.
Well, I saw in the chat Foster mentioned Stick on Apple TV, which I think has been a cool thing. It's been hyped up. The trailer looks good. I'm like 3 episodes in. It's not rolled out all at once, which is kind of keeping me interested, but also I like forget when it drops and I have to go watch. I think there might be 2 or 3 episodes that I haven't seen yet. The beginning was interesting. It seemed pretty good. Obviously, it's focused not for golf sickos, but for like a broad audience, which is, I think, probably the right play if you're the producer of the show. But they do get some of the details right, and it seems to have a pretty good storyline, some heart, and just love Owen Wilson. So that's been great. Have you guys watched it?
I have. I think that if you haven't watched it yet, there's really just 2 questions, and if you answer these 2 questions yes, then you should watch it. If you answer one of them no, you probably shouldn't. First, do you like Owen Wilson? If the answer to that is yes, then that's 50% of the metric. If you don't like Owen Wilson, you won't like it. It's an Owen Wilson vehicle, and he spends most of the time on screen. The second thing is, did you like Ted Lasso? If you like Ted Lasso a lot, then you're probably going to like this, especially if you like Owen Wilson. If you hated Ted Lasso, you're probably not going to like this. It's very similar, kind of schmaltzy, kind of cliche, but I have really enjoyed it. I like golf, I like Owen Wilson, and I like Ted Lasso, so it's kind of a win-win-win for me. The story's fine, but like there's like a genuine sense of drama. Like it's probably going to be okay, but they invest a lot in the beginning of like into the characters, and you really root for them. Like they all have something like happening to them that you feel bad about, and you really want them to succeed. And I think that makes for something that if I'm just looking for a show that I want to spend some time with characters, it's very above decent watch. I would say I'd recommend it to people as long as you answer the questions about Owen Wilson and Ted Lasso affirmatively.
Yeah, we've been watching it as well. I watch a ton of golf content, a lot of it on my own. This meets the criteria for watching with my wife, so that's a plus. That's always a plus. I can do some joint watching of something golf related, always fun. And yeah, it's been enjoyable. Good characters, like you said, Greg. I will say though, so this is one of those things that uh, once I say it, you aren't going to be able to unsee it or unhear it. So apologies in advance. Plug your ears if you're not into that kind of thing. But so here's the thing I've noticed while watching Stick is they use the sound of a driver or a fairway wood hitting the ball when he's hitting an iron, and it drives me insane.
Okay.
And I hear it every single time now. I noticed it one time. So now, you'll see him hitting an iron shot and it's like, think. And it really gets me. So, it's not, you don't, like you were saying, this isn't for golf sickos. You don't expect they're playing on, not even great courses, well manicured courses. There's plenty of stuff that's wrong with it, but from like a golf perspective, right? But that one really got me, which actually led me to wondering if you guys have anything like that. Like, is there anything in golf movies that always, is a pet peeve or, always gets you, or maybe even in sports movies in general, because that's always a theme, right? You have kind of actors who aren't, they aren't pro athletes playing these sports playing parts or whatever. But anything that you guys always gets on your nerves?
I'm an elite world class suspender of disbelief. So honestly, like when I get into a movie, it's really hard to get me out of it. Like even that, I didn't notice it. I don't even know now that I know it would bother me. One of the most famous examples is from Major League, in that Wesley Snipes is actually really slow, even though he plays Willie Mays Hayes, the fastest baseball player. So every single
always
one,
slow-mo.
It's always slow mo.
Yeah.
Because he's so slow, and it makes him feel faster. But then by the flip side, Charlie Sheen, all of his throws are him, and he was like touching mid 80s and had pretty good control and looks like a believable closer for a Moorbound franchise. I can't think of a single example because again, I think I'm able to sort of just lock in and I don't really pay attention to it. I probably notice more about story, pace, acting, directing choices, that kind of stuff, more than some specific. I don't know if you listen to Bill Simmons a lot, but he talks about wanting to start a basically consulting company that just does consulting for Hollywood movies about sports. I'm not, whatever that range is, I'm on the opposite range. It's just is what it is.
Yeah.
Cooper, what about you?
I recently mentioned I rewatched Happy Gilmore, and that's probably right at the cusp of digital graphics, right? The early end of that. A lot of the tee shots is just the kind of the ball flying through. They reuse a ton of the shots of the ball flying over the tree. That's all fine. In a lot of golf shows, movies, Stick, Happy Gilmore, looks like the greens are rolling at a 6 or a 5, right? They're really fluffy.
It's bouncing.
Yeah, shout out Kovsey. The bounce of the ball are just, kind of silly, and the way the putts are rolling is something that I notice as well on those. I will give a shout out. I went and saw, this is not paid, but they should, their budget's huge. F1, another Apple TV or Apple production. Really, really good. I'm not an F1 watcher or race fan, but boy, those driving scenes were sick. And I'd love to hear if you watched F1 in the comments and you're an F1 fan or a racing fan, what you thought about the realism there. But super cool, I think, even as somebody who's a motorsport enthusiast, that they did a good job there. And I think that just gets easier and easier to get right with computer graphics and all that technology. If you have someone consulting who knows what they're talking about or what to look for.
Yeah, I think it depends on to what end. I've gotten into so many late night arguments with my brother and brother-in-law about Remember the Titans, and Remember the Titans, based on a true story, resembles very little about what actually happened. But if you tried to make a movie about Remember the Titans, what actually happened, it would be boring as hell, because they were absolutely dominant. They beat the crap out of every team that they played against, and there's no tension, right? So instead, they had to make the games close, and they had to come back, and then they had to have the winning, play at the end, and spoiler, blah blah blah. So I think to me, like as someone who likes movies, I think probably there's probably some decisions that are just stupid, and that might be because of ignorance, or that might be because of laziness or whatever. But I think like most decisions made about a movie within sports is probably out of convenience, storytelling, whatever. Like I'd be curious if Chris, if you ask them like, why are you using a wood sound? It could be just because like we only have one sound. I doubt that's true. It could just because it sounds better or it sounds more flushed, and we're not expecting most of the people to watch it to notice the difference, but it sounds better than an iron and it picks up better on, speakers, blah blah blah. So like I might be giving too much credit to filmmakers, but like a lot of that stuff doesn't bother me because it hopefully is in service to the story.
Yeah, very fair point. Who knows? Maybe they did a focus group, and watchers like it better, think it's more impactful when it's the sound of a driver
Sure.
getting thunked or whatever. But
Sure, it's a good sound. I wanna put a plug into one thing I've been watching. I have been watching. I'm not a huge follower of Barstool. I want to see if I can piss off LiveBots and Barstool Bros on this podcast. So if you have any of those people in your life, pass it along, and they can come fight me. But I really, really have enjoyed this arc of Riggs, who's on Barstool. People have increasingly been calling him out on his handicap, that he lies about his handicap, that it's too low. And so I think when they did the Oakmont video, it really came to a head because he shot like a 107, and Trent, I think, shot a 106, and people are like, all right, your vanity handicap, blah, blah, blah. And the trolls have just gone after him. So that now, and who knows how much of all of this is connected into a marketing, false flag, whatever. But now he's going out and people who are challenging him on Twitter, he plays them in a match. And there was one particularly aggressive troll that he played against, I think last week. And he ended up winning like 7-5. And the guy was like talking all this crap and saying how they needed to go back and play from the tips instead of playing up. And he just dusted the floor with them. So I think like those are fun because you're really rooting for against someone. That's been one YouTube thing that I like. And I know that they just released one where they were playing for like 25 grand. So that one isn't as interesting to me because like, pro golfers play for money, but having someone attack you on the internet and then just go out and just boat race them is my kind of content. I want to see more of that.
yeah, it's been a fun one.
Thanks for the spoiler alert there. I watched the first half and was like, this is great, but now I know how it ends. I'm glad that is how it finishes. Yeah, the chirpers on his Instagram page getting to go out and actually play against him on the feed I think that's a good meta, and I hope to see him continue to post those videos. I think that was something. I don't watch very much of the Barstool Golf content, and that was one that definitely caught my attention.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I saw. It looks like the next
Anything
phase
else we're watching?
they're talking about doing. I forget who it was, but an LPGA player responded or quote tweeted one of his tweets or whatever, saying basically we should do that with LPGA, right? There's plenty of internet trolls saying they could, they're a scratch player, they could beat
Yeah.
a LPGA player or whatever, and it sounds like it might actually happen. So I will very much look forward to that. I
Yes.
think that'd be a fun watch.
100%. All right. So then last question I have for you all here, last topic. Let's do another half year check-in on just kind of where the game is right now. Like, where's your game? How are you feeling about it? Are you trending up? Are you trending down? Are you flatlining? So first one is just if you could pick one word to describe your golf game as we live and breathe right now on July 3rd, what is that word?
Narrowing it down to one word is tough. I think I'd go with like fluctuating. It's like felt like I was trending there for a little bit, then got smacked in the face the last couple of rounds. That had some really good kind of swing feels or things that I was working on, and then also kind of, flipped them or fell apart a little bit. So yeah, I think I'd go with that. Was maybe overly confident for a bit there, as
Yeah.
golf does. Got, taken down a notch or two. So that's my current state, fluctuating a little bit.
Okay. Cooper, one word.
Can it be hyphenated?
Sure.
Uh, out to in. Yeah,
Mm.
still struggling. Like, working hard on your extension, everything. See video of my swing, and it's just like, why am I doing that? Why I look stupid. Like, I'm improving, but it looks wrong, and then my driver just doesn't stay on planet, and I overcorrect and snap hook. So, that's my main golf woe right now. Is
Okay.
the longer the club gets, the more wipey I get.
I
Understood.
feel ya.
Get it.
Feel ya.
Been there. I think mine's wobbly. I often like to describe like my in round golf mentality as like I'm driving a cart and one of those wheels of the cart starts to shake a little bit, then it falls off. Now I'm driving a three-wheel cart and I'm spending most of my time trying to figure out how to drive a three-wheel cart and keep it going. Then you start to feel the other wheel. Hopefully it's one that I can still balance on, and then at some point all the wheels are off. uh Give you an example, like I played on Tuesday in Wichita, Kansas, and I think I shot like a 43 on the front, so not great. Just wasn't feeling it. Wasn't driving the ball well. Uh, there was some positivity in the chipping. Had pretty good control of the golf ball around the greens. I was putting well, but just driving, it wasn't just like, hey, here's where I want to hit it. It doesn't go there. It's like, okay, now I'm on the opposite end of the golf course, and again, like starting to hit wipey slices that I thought had just gone away. I thought I'd solved that problem. I thought it was done, and now they're back. And now, but then on the back nine, I think I bottomed out and I tripled like 13. I don't remember exactly. Look me up on Gin. And then for the rest of the time, I had three birdies after that. One was a chip in on a par five. One was a bunker shot, just absolutely dunked it on a par four. And the last one, I missed an eagle, like a 10-foot-ish eagle putt, lipped out and got a birdie there. So, like the most frustrating part, and like the word that I'd want to use is frustrating, or is from the game, is just that I think all three of us have both described and demonstrated market improvement in almost every aspect of our golf games over the course of the last 3 years. Like I'm a better golfer than I was before, for sure. But I just can't fit it all together in a round. Like I broke 80 a couple times last year, have not done that this year. And it's just it's frustrating. So wobbly is like the feeling, because it's just you feel like it's getting away from you. You feel like Jack and Titanic and just like slipping away down into the abyss below. But that's how I feel. So if you know any therapists, let me know. Love it.
Yeah, not a lot of positivity in our one word slogans, but
Probably the problem, honestly. That's probably the
Right.
problem.
Right.
How about this? What word should you use? And let's just manifest the opposite direction. Like, what's one word you want to have described your game?
That's a good one.
Control.
I like it. Very good.
Yeah, or like stable or consistent, to kind of the wobbly or the fluctuating thing. Like that consistent is the one, right? Like but that's kind of like the whole game, It's like if you can do consistent swing, consistent strike, then you're golden. That's like that is the goal. So if we ever get there, then we're in a good spot.
Cool. Once you get there, you'll always be there, and you'll never ever lose it. I'm sure.
Because then you're consistent.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So then let's expose ourselves a little bit here. Current index, your GIN number, your social security number, and the street you grew up on.
Sure.
And then what trend do you feel like that number is on right now?
Yeah. I mean, the irony here is, like I said, fluctuating, but my index has been flat basically all year. So I guess that's a good thing. I'm like flat at around, I think I'm like 8.8 right now or something. Started the year to 9.2 or something like that. Went down a little, went up a little bit, overall flat. So I guess that's the good news, it's like, or, the spread of what your index is calculated over the 20 scores or whatnot, that evens out all the fluctuation that I'm seeing, and overall it's okay. So I think that's maybe a positive, but day to day it doesn't necessarily feel that way. But So overall flat. Still have some work to do with the annual goal of getting down to 5, though. So got to get it moving in that direction.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cooper, where are you at?
I'm hanging out at a 6.8.
Ooh,
I was a
lowest of the three of us.
It's been dropping. I have an issue with whoever rated the new Spey routing. My home course in Philly, which is wide open, you can spray it and not lose a golf ball, is rated 3 strokes harder than Spey. So I posted that 75, 75, 77, and dropped 0.2 on the gin. So I'm a little bit.
Not rating the course properly.
The course needs to get its own difficulty rating. It's a narrow golf course. Yeah.
A GCC at the end of every day. The course. What does PCC stand for? I don't remember, but something course correction. Course correction.
Course condition correction sounds like a necessary thing for the wind as well. Anyway, that's a different story. So we're trending well. I read a post which is like, you guys have a number you hit your 7-iron, right? And you're not expecting to hit your 7-iron 20 yards longer. If you do, you might be upset, right? But with the driver, we're just trying to hit it 340, and if it lands like 290, great, right? Like, that's kind of the way I approach my driver shots.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps the thing that I need to do is say, hey, I need to aim for a 265 shot and hit with that control. And like, maybe if I get the sweet spot and some rollout, I'll get 290 or something like that. But like, every time I step up to a tee box and it's a par 4 or 5, and I'm trying to hit the ball,
trying to crush it,
the farthest I've ever hit the golf ball, like 100% of the time. And I think that there might be something there with the mentality that, like, if I focus on that off the tee, I'll lose fewer golf balls.
Yeah, I mean, avoiding the big trouble is where it's all at. I mean, that's like the challenge has been, like, part of the reason why I dropped so much over the course of the last year was because I was losing so many fewer golf balls off the tee. And then my issue is like, I'm in the wrong spot, but whatever. I'm starting to lose golf balls again. And that's how, you black out for like 3 hours and you wake up and you shoot a 99 at Prairie Dunes. Like, that's how that happens, because you lose a golf ball off of every tee into the gunch. So yeah, I mean, but that's what we talked about with Stack, is you should feel confident to be able to, I don't want to say swing slower, because I think that's bad advice, but like exert less effort, I guess. Because like, I think like one of the challenges
more of a mental thing, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. Because I just like, I'm honestly scared driving the golf ball right now. Like, that the word that I would describe is fearful, because the outcome has recently been much more on the bad side than the good side. And because of that, now I'm slowing down. Now I'm trying to control the golf ball. Now I'm trying to, steer things, and it's only making it worse, right? So, we need to flush this out of our systems, and, you just need to do better. The people are watching, people are listening. We got to do better.
That's all we got to do. Just do better.
Yeah. That's true.
Play better.
So I will just say, for prosperity, I'm at a 7.7 now. I went from a 7.1 up to a 7.7 after some bad rounds recently. I have another one of my low rounds coming off in the next round that I play. So I expect it to go up probably a little bit more. But hopefully we can stabilize. My trend, though, right now, unfortunately, is up. But I don't think that's a bad thing, because I also like, there have been times where I've played people straight up who are 7 handicaps, and I do feel at least emboldened that our games are pretty similar. Like, there's like, the immediate feeling is just fraud when you go out and you play against people and you play poorly. But I definitely don't deserve the amount of strokes I have to give up where my game is right now, playing against people who have a higher handicap than me. So I'm not saying I'm manipulating my index by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm looking forward to it catching up to where my game is right now, which is one of the beauties of it. Last question here before we wrap up. What's your current focus on? Obviously, we talked about speed a little bit last week, but of all the things we've talked about in our games right now, where it's at, where it's going, where it's been, what is your singular focus in game improvement today?
Yeah, I can go first because I've been sharing some of this stuff, I guess. But, battling the early extension, trying to get to compressing the golf ball better, more consistently, and getting a little forward chaffly, and just that is my biggest focus. We talked about this a little bit, I think, on our goals podcast earlier in the year, but just irons is where I have to improve approach game, and it's all that. So being able to do that, be more consistent with it. So that is definitely the focus. It's shifted around a little bit, and kind of similar to you, Greg. Driver went haywire for a bit and kind of got it back, and but overarching theme is that, and trying to get hone in on the iron play, get that together. I think that's what I'm gonna have to do to get to that index goal for the year anyways. So far and away the focus for me right now.
Okay. Cooper, what about you?
Yeah, it's 100% just the stand up in my swing versus staying low, keeping my butt on the line on the left side. Like, that's, if you look at my swing down the line, I just stand up, and when I can stay through that, it's super consistent. So like, that's the move that I'm working on like throughout my swing, and for some reason it's just a lot easier on the short clubs. When I get longer clubs, start swinging harder or faster or anything else, it falls apart. So I think it's deeply tied to mobility, probably. So I don't know, I have to stretch more. Getting old.
Shout out AJ and TPI.
Yeah,
For sure.
The goats.
That'll tell you some things. He's a truth teller.
Yeah. If you haven't yet, pop in the Discord, post your swing and swing analysis. We'll tell you what's wrong with your swing, and what you need to do to improve. It's really great. Yeah, that's my focus. And guys, I'm sorry to throw us off here, but somebody's popped into the New York City chat and said that there's an extra last minute spot on Bethpage Black today at 4:40 p.m. And so the question is,
breaking news.
The question is,
I'll be there in 3 hours.
Do one of you in chat want to take it, or should I drive up from Philly and play Bethpage Black this afternoon? For America,
one of the last chances to be able to do it before it closes, right?
Right.
Speaking of getting ready for the Ryder Cup,
they've got the stands up. So chat, please chime in here. Yes or no? Do I make the drive up? I think it's Chris. We've played it a couple times. It's a good spot. So I don't know. Would you guys do it?
I would say like let someone in the chat do it, but if no one takes you up on it, then you should go. Why not? I mean, what else are you gonna do? Just sitting at your desk, just typing at the keyboard, doing some work. You can do all that later, right? You can't play Bethpage. You can come back and do work tonight.
Golf
you can't
has
go
to
play
come
Bethpage.
now. That's right.
Yeah, for sure. That's funny. That it might be the first live Bethpage Black tea time offering that
somebody take it, please.
Somebody take it.
If you're in chat and you're closer than I am, go. It's a great course.
Somebody's already run into their car, just like typing as they're driving. My current focus is definitely on the mental side of the game, because I think I am an overthinker, and because of that, everything that y'all described about how your body is moving and everything else makes it really hard for me just to like be an athlete. You know what I mean? So I think that like I feel good enough about my swing that I can perform at the level that I want to right now, even if it wouldn't look good in the swing analysis channel, even if AJ would, slap me across the face with what I might be doing in different spots. I'm just trying to be an athlete. So I'm focusing on speed, but I'm not really focused on how that's happening. I'm just hoping that the stack system works. I have very few swing thoughts, and I'm just trying to feel those constantly. I'm trying to turn, I'm trying to finish, and that's about it. The thing that I'm spending a lot more of my time on, because I feel, and I could be wrong, but I feel like most of the reason why my game isn't where I want it to be is on the mental, social, emotional side. Started reading Zen Golf, which was recommended to me. It's been very helpful. It's sort of like a book that overlaps like Buddhist teaching with golf psychology, and a lot of it's just sort of coming down to what's my process, like what's my pre-shot routine, how am I visualizing my target, am I committed to that target, and then do I accept the outcome for whatever it was. And I think like what that's taught me a lot is like the round that I played on the morning round I played at Prairie Dunes, it just was a constant nosedive. Like it was just a race to the bottom because I wasn't thinking about my pre-shot routine. I was too worried about the people I was playing with. I was too worried about my score, and that just became worse and worse and worse and worse. But like you started to notice was like, yeah, if I had a bad drive, certainly that could infect the rest of that hole or round, or I can just hit a better next shot. I can get myself in position for a bogey. And part of that was like playing with Persimmons in the afternoon at Prairie Dunes. Bogey was basically a birdie at that point for me. And so, just trying to make sure that I'm keeping the ball roughly in play, scrambling well, not giving up, grinding through, and focusing on price process. That's what I'm trying to commit to right now.
Solid.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get out of here. It is 4th of July Eve before our great country's birthday. For all the listeners out there, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend. I hope you eat the food that makes you happy. I hope you see the people that makes you happy. And I hope that you are all safe and smart with firework decisions. God bless America. But just hope everyone has a really good time. It's a fun part of the year. See loved ones, see friends, see family. Enjoy everything about it. If you're not in the United States, this is what you're missing, candidly. So, do better, rest of non-America. But really, thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in as always. If you're enjoying the show, leave a comment, drop a like, ping us on Discord. We want to hear. We read all of it. Let us know the topics you want to have, whether that's for this podcast or building LinksDAO, any guests that you want. Give us all the information. We'll take that information in. We'll take it under advisement. We'll make good decisions for you. Follow, subscribe, and of course, next week we got something big coming up. So
mark
be on
your
the lookout for
calendars.
that. Mark your
Noon
calendar.
Eastern, Thursday
Yep.
next week.
Yep.
And we just spun the wheel of names. Congrats, Nathan Gilmer. Open a ticket in Discord. We will get you your prize. Tune in next week. We'll have more prizes, more fun stuff going on. Thanks for chatting.
Sweet. All right, everybody. Be safe. Be good.